Hey, how's it going? Happy Saturday. I'm putting my hat on. I was like, whoa, no hat. Hey, happy Saturday. How's it going? How's everybody doing? Thanks for being here. Yeah, how's your Saturday going? Mine's going pretty good so far. It's actually quite nice here. So you guys know or don't know, hey, whoa, right away. Thank you. I don't know what the event was because my lights are just flashing, but I'll take it. Give me 1 second. I don't have my notifications open in my other screen. I feel like I haven't streamed in a while, even though I have. Well, Tuesday. I guess that was a while. Anyways, what I was saying real quick. Oh, Takano, dude, thanks for the resub. Prime, 9 months, dude. Thanks, 9 months. Can you believe it? Coming up on a year? Is that even possible? Yeah, man, dude, thanks for the continued support. Hope you're doing well, man. Real quick before I just start blabbering. There were a couple follows. So this is Ms. Reddy. Hey, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Boomer MK, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. And then Takano, yeah, thanks for the resub. But what I was saying Saturday, yeah, it's actually quite nice here. As you guys know, I'm or may not know, I'm in Minneapolis, so it's usually cold up here. But now today it's like 45 and sunny. So I was like outside. I was so bored. And I wanted to do something outside. I was shoveling the yard. I was shoveling the yard and shoveling the snow in the yard. My neighbors probably think I'm crazy. Well, this probably confirmed that I am. But I do it for a reason. And it's not just because I'm bored. It's also because I have dogs. And so I need to give them more spaces to go to the bathroom. So shoveling the yard is something I definitely do. And maybe that's a Minnesota thing, dog odor and Minnesota thing. I don't know. It's definitely a Tim thing because every spring, I'm out shoveling the yard, just giving my dogs more spaces to go to the bathroom. And on top of that, I shovel a racetrack for them in the winter, more like a maze. So they go around in a maze and then come back out if they make it. They do. Anyways, yeah, happy Saturday. Hopefully everyone's doing okay. Hey, dude, thank you. Whoa, Skrillaflex. Hey, thanks for the sub. Appreciate it. Dude, thank you so much. Thank you. I don't know why my notifications aren't going off. They were earlier. Let me get one. Let me look at this really quick. Alerts. Yeah, helps if I turn those on. Let me see. Takano? Yeah, there we go. All right, I'll replay them. Yeah, helps if I do things right. But anyways, yeah. So yeah, Saturday. Hopefully your Saturday's going good. Mine's good so far. I appreciate you tuning in. I know that it's pretty nice across most of the U.S. today. Especially compared to last week. So I appreciate you tuning in and yeah, appreciate you being here. And then I'll play Skrillaflex again. Yeah, there we go. Now my alerts are working. Anyways, if you tuned in on Tuesday, you knew that I was building a Raspberry Pi. So I was putting together a Raspberry Pi from scratch. Like did not even think twice, opened the packaging and started putting it together. And if you're there towards the end of the stream, I realized that I bought the wrong PoE hat. And the only giveaway was the very last piece of the case that I put on didn't align perfectly with the PoE hat. Anyways, I'll have you know. Well, I should show it. I'll have you know that it is now working. So anyways, this is the thrilling conclusion of my Raspberry Pi. So I have the right Pi hat now, and it's all working. And as you can see, no one in tech would ever do this but me. I'm gonna hold something by the cord. This is PoE powered, and so that was my goal of last stream, and so I accomplished it. And so it's actually pretty nice. I actually love these cases. I don't know if you've seen them, but these are my favorite cases. They're by C4 Labs, and they're black ice, and I have one on my Pi 2, Pi 3B, Pi 0, and now my Pi 4. And so this is actually running Kubernetes right now. This is actually, I have Kubernetes. I joined this to my Kubernetes cluster, and it's running. And I added some workloads to it. I'm doing some more testing. I got to do a couple things. I'm learning all about building multi-architecture containers for Kubernetes, which is pretty awesome. But most of the time, you don't need to worry about that. Unless you build your own custom container, people are already doing this for you. Me, I build my own custom containers because I write code. And so because of that, I need to build that into my process, which I haven't because none of my stuff has ever run on ARM. Anyways, that's kind of what I've been working on in a nutshell. And so I'm curious, yeah, what are you guys working on? Well, obviously I'm always working on content. I got something I think is pretty cool coming tomorrow. I'll just say it. It's going to come out tomorrow morning. I think I don't know. I think it's cool. Anyways, it's not related to that. Well, kind of related to that. But anyways, tomorrow morning. If you're interested, yeah, be sure to check out my channel because I got something coming. It's hey, you'll see. It's nothing. Now I'm hyping it up. It's zero hype. I'm exceptionally happy with the way it turned out, just because I put a lot of effort into it. Anyways, that's all boring stuff. That's not why you're here. Maybe it is. Who knows? But I am curious what you guys are working on. I know that Thursday it was a lot of me working on a Raspberry Pi, so maybe I didn't get a chance to answer any of your questions. So that's what I'm here to do. Or we can just talk tech or anything you guys want to do. I will start with that. I have a bunch of non-tech projects coming up over the next couple of days, but I'm gotta fix some stair stuff and fix some tub stuff. Not fun for me. Probably fun for other people because they probably know a lot more about that stuff. But my DIY is pretty limited. A lot of tech DIY and just stuff here and there, but not looking forward to it. Haven't been for a while. But hey, Tyler's, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. How you doing? So. Info upgraders, you were the first one here. Beat you combo breaker on PC Geeks first for I think like 3 weeks, maybe more. So info upgraders, how's it going, man? How you doing? Thanks for being here. Coding while watching Tim streams, it's a different type of vibe. Yeah, hopefully you can concentrate. I'm of the type to where I can't listen to talking when I code. I write code and all day long. For some reason, I can't listen to spoken word. And sometimes a lot of the music I listen to, like this, doesn't have any words at all because I just need to, I don't know, it needs to be in the background. So hopefully I don't distract you too much. I'll try not to call you out. Info upgraders, you have a bug on line 49. A syntax error on line 49. You need to fix that. And then line 52 is a security error. I'm kidding. Yay Clav. Oh man, I'm not gonna do it now, but ooh, my fonts are so super small, so I apologize. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. Let's go for it. Oh, hey, it'll still fit my window. So I did that kind of okay. All right, that's not gonna look great for you, but it's gonna look a lot better for me. PC Geek, how's it going, man? How you doing? How's it going? Yakolev, we'll get back. Thanks. Hi. Toes can code. All right, Toes can code. All right, I totally agree. Toes can code. Absolutely. 100% agree. PC Geek, someone finally beat me. Yeah, man. Yeah, combo breaker. Info upgraders is the combo breaker. Info upgraders, he's gotten coding options today. That's awesome. Yeah, thank you, people, for being here. I'm not going to say thank you, Twitch. If they gave it to me permanently, then I'd say thank you, Twitch. But it's you guys for being here. And is definitely a big signal. Another signal. There's a lot of signals to Twitch on whether or not they give me encoding options. But one of them is people in the room, so I appreciate it. Hey, yeah, thanks for changing the lights too. Oh, there we go. That's my favorite. I won't tell you it's my favorite, but it is. Fusion 360 fish tank stand designing. Ilude. Whoa, what? Fusion 360 fish tank stand designing. You're designing I don't even know what that is. Like, I understand a 360-degree fish tank stand. So you're designing one? That's pretty awesome. Maybe not. So everywhere you look, all the way around a room or your house, that's awesome if that's true. Because I love fish tanks. I had one as a kid, and I never really got one again. A couple of my friends are into saltwater fish tanks, and they really love it. I want one because they're awesome. Boomer MK, hey, how's it going? M Kellerman from Twitter here. Hey, how's it going? Thanks for the help. Yeah, man. I think if I recall correctly, you were just asking like general help. Like, hey, I'm thinking about doing a lot of self-hosting stuff. How can I get started? What things should I look out for? And then I gave you like a million answers of things to look out for. So, yeah, how's it going? Welcome here. And so I guess I'll just answer your question here too, in case anyone's curious, because a lot of people, want to start self-hosting stuff. And so I would say that, like I said in that tweet, is that if you are considering self-hosting, there's a lot of like prerequisites, like things you should have in place before you do. Obviously, people go right after Kubernetes or go right after Docker, Ranch, or Portainer, or whatever. They go after that right away, right? And so I agree, like that's fun and you need a quick win and you need to make sure it's going to work right. But preparing starts way before that with your network, with your firewall, with your VLANs, and getting everything set up properly, and then getting your nodes and that whole entire network segmented off from the rest of your network, or have two IPs and keep it totally separate. But that's most people aren't going to do that. and there's just all of these layers of things you need. And so I appreciate you stopping in and stopping in from Twitter. Twitter convert. I like it. A new funnel. But yeah, definitely, ping me, or if you have any other questions, just reply to that thread, or we have a Discord channel too where you can we can talk about it some more, about some of the things you need to do in order to prepare to start self-hosting. Because it doesn't start with choosing, whether or not you're going to virtualize or containerize. It starts a lot earlier on your network design and how you're going to get that working and not working for the people you don't want it not working for. Yeah, thanks for stopping in. Appreciate it. Creepinson, hey, how's it going, man? How are you doing? You were, last time I think I saw on Discord, you were all over trying to, I think you were going back to K3S or back to Rancher, doing a lot of CI/CD and always doing a lot of code. So hopefully you're doing well, man. PC Geek, just got my R210-2. And working on getting the BIOS and stuff updated. Nice, man. I love updating BIOS. I've said this a lot of times, but something about updating the BIOS, because it's just such a low level, firmware or software for hardware. I love it. I don't know why. I get excited about firmware updates. Software update, firmware is software, but at the same time, it's, a lot lower level. I get super excited about firmware updates. Yeah, little known fact. When I see Wemo updates, firmware updates, or Hue or any of my devices, my IoT devices, I'm like, yes. But BIOS updates for machines, I love them too. Sometimes I don't really appreciate the ones for my PC because they'll reset all of my settings, and I get it. Some changes aren't forward compatible or backwards compatible, depending on what your perspective is. But yeah, it's I have to overclock my machine every time I update my BIOS. That one I don't look forward to because I know that they're just adding support for hardware that I don't have. So it's kind of like, do I really need to? But I do anyways. And then Moriva, hi-ho. Hey, how's it going? Pizza Geek, then PF Sense. Nice, dude. Dude, you're redoing your infrastructure again. I love it, man. I love it. Chenman Fit. Hello, love your YouTube channel. Thanks for all the great work you're doing. Hey, thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for stopping in. I appreciate you being here. Let me know if you have any feedback, something you want to see, you have an idea. Feel free to ping me on Twitter or Discord for sure. Always interested in what you guys are thinking about my stuff. I think someone brought it up earlier, like, oh, people give you thumbs down in some of your videos. It's totally fine. Like, I get it. Like, I welcome that feedback too. And I know that, thumbs down, it can mean so many different things. And so I wish there was a little feedback form on YouTube that was like, why did you thumbs down it? Because I would be all over that because that's the stuff that helps you improve. That's the stuff that helps make things better. Now, I'm not saying go and thumbs down all of my stuff. No, but absolutely. If you don't agree with something I say, you don't like something I did, you don't like how I edit, yeah, thumbs down. That's your prerogative. That's your right. But go easy on me. But anyways, I appreciate it. If you have any specific feedback, I'd really love that too, because all feedback's a gift, good or bad. Mafney, how's it going? Resub, tier 1, 4 month streak. Hi, how is everyone? Mafney, how's it going? You're usually second, but I'm glad you're here. Thank you for the continued support. 4 month streak, 4 in a row. Thank you so much, appreciate it. Takano, installing a smart switch, nice. How smart is that? Yeah. What smart switch? I think last time you were all about MikroTik, and maybe you still are. Maybe it's a different version of MikroTik or something like that. What switch? What smart switch? Boomer. I'm trying to figure out how to set up storage on my server so it's optimized for Proxmox VM. There are so many options out there. Yeah, there are tons of options out there. I totally agree. I do mine a little bit different than most people. I do have Proxmox in a cluster of 2. So I'm totally an oddball. A cluster of 2. I don't use shared storage for my VMs. It's all local storage on those servers because that local storage is SSD storage, and then I have ZFS set up on both with a striped mirror, kind of like a RAID 10. Where both of those servers are both running virtual machines with local storage on SSD RAID 10. And I do that for a reason because 1, I want the performance, and 2, I don't have 10 gigabit networking, so I don't want to deal with iSCSI and virtual machines over the network. Not saying that's a bad thing, it's just not something that I want to do yet. So I keep all my stuff local. anyways, you have a ton of options. You have a ton of options. And so, yeah, let me know some of the options you're thinking. I'm sure tons of people on this channel have lots of suggestions, as well as Discord. They have tons of suggestions. The way that I did it is just one way that, that worked for me. And it's one way that, I found that it suits my needs because of the way my storage is laid out. It's not to say that I don't have TrueNAS running, and long-term, slow-moving storage, just mass storage in there too. But it's not on server. It's actually depends how you look at it, because I virtualize my TrueNAS. But it's not. How should I put this? Proxmox knows about it because I use an NFS share for backing up. But it's not where I keep my VM storage. How about that? I'll put it that way. Moriva, nice song. Thank you. I think I know which song you're talking about. Yeah, I say this every time. Someone always compliments the music, and I'm not afraid to compliment who it's from. It's, Harris Heller. He has a bunch of albums that are copyright free that creators can use, and I use them all. I'm almost running out. I mean, I handpick them all. But yeah, I handpick a lot of them. I use them here and in YouTube, and I have, a list that I choose, that I add to all the time. And it's fantastic stuff. It's called Stream Beats, by the way. I probably didn't say that, but his name's probably more important than the title of his playlist. So, yeah, Boomer MK, my brain hurts. Oh yeah, I know. I would just say, think about what you're trying to accomplish and take it one step at a time, and I know that you wanted to start self-hosting, and I was like, oh yeah, by the way, think of all this other stuff first, then get things set up. But you can change some of that later. The one thing I would say to get figured out first is get your Kubernetes nodes that are going to serve traffic to the public on their own VLAN or segment or network, however you design your network. Get them somewhere else. That's semi-permanent because, while the nodes, you can change them around. They're pretty versatile, but at the same time, you don't want to redo network firewalls and VLANs and all that stuff. So segment that traffic first. Create a network for where those Kubernetes nodes are going to live. Treat that like public internet, like they're on the edge, because they kind of will be. And block everything from there, except for whatever port you need to manage some of that stuff over there. Usually K3S kube control API stuff, so 6443 and maybe 443, I'm not sure. And then, allow incoming from your safe network. But yeah, and if your brain hurts about storage, yeah, I agree. My brain hurt about storage for a long time too, and it took a few iterations to get it right. Do I still have it right? No. Will it change in the future? Sure. Yeah, absolutely it will. So don't worry, it's ever changing. It's ever changing. Takano, man, how's it going, dude? Piece of Geek, agreed, it's from Streambeats. Yep, for sure it is. Takano, $20 will give you the luxury of not having to get out of bed and turn on the fan. Oh, those type of smart switches. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So I thought you meant smart switch, like not a dumb switch, like a networking switch. So I totally agree. Yeah, I have smart switches here, and this fan, I don't want to put my hand too high. I could knock my arm off. But yeah, my fans are on smart switches, and all the ceiling fans that I have, I did. And that was because for a while we didn't have central air. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to put new ceiling fans. Why not just, I want to make sure this isn't rubbing. Why not just make sure that they're smart so I can kick them on and off depending on temperature, and so, or cycle them daily to get fresh air throughout the house. And that was my first step into, managing the climate inside. Well, I had smart thermostats, but this was step 2, and then step 3 was just get central air. But yeah, I think you were looking at TP-Link ones and something else. I use Wemo ones. They're great. They're a lot more expensive than TP-Link, but they were one of the first ones out that had them. So, but TP-Link are super fantastic too. Here, lots of good things. Hey, Veranos. Hey, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. PC Geek, money well spent. I totally agree. I totally agree. And not just for like the lazy factor, like all of the things I mentioned for me too. It's being able to cycle air, turn them on and off when you're not home, and then help, just get fresh air in the house, especially when you have windows open. It's super nice. Yeah, lots of reasons. Indeed, yes. Let's see. Ilude, yard shoveling for dogs is a Western PA thing too. Awesome. All right. I thought it was just a Minnesota thing. Yeah. every winter, about this time, I get the itch. And usually, we've been pretty lucky this year, at least for us in Minnesota. We've had a pretty mild winter, and we've had a pretty mild fall too. And it's been like that the last couple years. But, there are times where it snowed in May, almost in June, and it's tough. It's tough up here as far as the weather's concerned. But yeah, I always get the itch. It's start to shovel my yard in March, and if the grass is all uncovered by snow, then I just start raking the heck out of it. I don't know why. Just rake all that thatch and dead grass out of it. Mainly because I just want to be outside again, So yeah. Chicago Samurai, it's so nice in Chicago right now. Yeah, I heard. I have some family that are near Chicago, and that's what they said. They were like 50 and sunny. I was like, hey, it's 45 and sunny here too. So yeah, I totally agree. We're getting a taste of spring, here in February. It's about to be March. What? On Monday, it's March 1st. So yeah, we're all. I think a lot of the country is getting a taste of spring right now. I love it. Snoopy, I never shovel the yard. I keep hoping my Chihuahua will get lost. Snoopy, yeah. I hear, yeah. So I have Chihuahuas too. They're mixes, but yeah, I know what you mean. Like I said, in when it first starts snowing in the winter, I shovel like this big maze so they kind of go and have lots of places to go, and then in the spring I shovel it so they have other places to go because it piles up. If you know what I mean. But yeah. Skrilliflex, love your content, Tim. Your spirit is uplifting. Hey, thank you so much. It's hard. It's hard to act natural on YouTube. At Twitch, this is a little bit more of my personality, a little more natural. So this is what you get if you met me in person or if you had a Zoom call with me. This is me normal. YouTube, not so much. It's just difficult. It's hard. I'm too much inside of my head during YouTube, but I appreciate it. Thank you. Chicago Samurai PoE hat. Yeah. I showed this, but it's just a PoE hat that you add on top of your Raspberry Pi, and it gives you power over Ethernet. So I have my UDM Pro switches that have PoE, all 24 ports, and I plug them in, and my Raspberry Pi, as you can see, is powered on. And like I said, it's running Kubernetes right now. So that's all I need to do. And part of the reason why I decided to get so many PoE ports, because I didn't want to have to think and rewire stuff. Maybe it's a lazy thing, but I didn't want to have 12 and think, okay, what 12 are these plugged into and which ones do they need? But then arguably, I'm using ports for PoE that don't even use it. My servers, none of those use PoE. So maybe I could have designed it a little bit better, but I just didn't want to have to think about it. But yeah, it's super cool. You add a PoE hat to a Pi, I think Pi 3B and Pi 4 both support it. Once you add it, you get PoE. And I had to, I didn't have to do anything other than, well, one, put it together the right way. As you could see from Tuesday, I didn't do that so well. And then three, it's just, line up the GPIO pins, right here. So it's a hat that goes right on top. You can't really see. And then, line up the GPIO pins and boom, you got PoE, power over Ethernet. And then I know a lot of you guys were saying, giving me suggestions about filing down a lot of the heat sinks. Well, you know what? When I bought the right PoE hat, the official one, they all fit. So that was another thing that was like, I was like, oh man, you can barely see in there. Maybe you can see a little bit of a fin. But that once I got the official Raspberry Pi hat for PoE, all the heat sinks fit. So I was one item off from getting a perfect build. Usually happens. In PCs, it's it rarely happens. PoE, I guess Raspberry Pis maybe more often. I don't know. But yeah, it's working. Yeah, for sure. Hey, Philip Gomes, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. Takano was able to fire up our generator. I'm gonna go here. Couldn't get it to fire for the life of me. In the end, had to clean out the old oil, which was contaminated with gas, and clean out the carburetor as oil got into it as well. Then had some new gas in, as the gas in it was pretty old. So I couldn't figure it out due to the combustibility of the gas. Man, sounds scary, at least for me, because I know very little about that stuff. So that sounds scary to me. But I'm glad you figured it out. Glad you have a generator going. Yeah, that's awesome. Chicago Samurai, nice, sweet. Links for the case, looks good. Pi 4. Oh yeah. Yeah, so sorry, I'm just getting caught up on comments. I'm not too far away. If you want to know which one it is, just use gear, exclamation point gear. I think that has most of my stuff. Anytime I put together some kind of build, I just make a little collection, and that'll take you right there. But yeah, I'll have some more stuff coming on it too. Something more official than doing it on Twitch. I just wanted to kind of mix it up, and I was excited about it, and I didn't want to build this by myself like I do most stuff. I wanted to build it with you guys. So that's why I did it during the live stream. And I might do more of that just because, like, sometimes you want to share stuff with people. And I mean, I'm a sharer, obviously, sometimes an overshare. But with my Pi, I was like, do I really want to do this at my desk, by myself? And I was like, no, I'll try it on Twitch. So anyways, yeah. Penguin Airlines, how's it going, man? Good to see you, dude. I'm a little bit back, rewinding. Drunk Ronnie, just one Pi. Well, I mean, I mentioned this. Maybe I mentioned it. I have 4 Pis in my network. One is that display back there, display panel. One is a Pi 0 that monitors a lot of my network and all of my servers and sends a PoE command or a wake on LAN, WOL command, a wake on LAN command if one of my servers are down, and that rarely ever happens. But in the rare case where it did, and my UPS totally died, as soon as the power comes back on, my PoE or my Pi 0 will power on all of my servers. And then what else do I have? RetroPie, I have one that's a RetroPie, and now this Pi 4 with 8 gigs of RAM, and I specifically chose the 8 gigs of RAM one because Kubernetes, because I want to have a low-powered fallback option. I'm giving stuff away, but yeah, I want to have a low-powered fallback option if something goes wrong, and because and then I chose PoE specifically because I want this to be powered by my switch, and my switch is on a different UPS than the rest, and so if my network still has power, my Raspberry Pi will still have power. And kind of the same reason why a lot of my network cameras too are PoE powered. I've always gone with PoE for network cameras for that same reason too, because the network switch that you have them on, or however they're PoE powered, if you inject them, you can plug them into a UPS, and then you're going to get some backup power. And this thing, surprisingly, I was looking at my UDM. It only draws like 4 watts. I mean, it's not doing much at all. But man, 4 watts of power, and I can run Kubernetes on it. Oh, okay, I'm okay with that. But yeah, awesome. Boomer MK, I don't know what I'd use it for, but I want one. Yeah, you can use them for a million things. Like, this is probably way far, tech geeky stuff for it. I mean, there's probably more geeky stuff you can use for it, but a Pi 4 in general is a great retro Pi. I mean, I have a Pi 3B that's still my retro Pi, and it's fantastic. And I always said that, the benchmark for Raspberry Pi releasing 4 needs to be that it can run, N64 emulated games, because that was one of the things that the Pi 3B didn't do well. That was the bar, where they kind of left off, because emulating N64 is kind of hard. And it's very taxing on the CPU. And so I haven't tested it with this. I haven't even looked. I'm sure it's possible. But I always said, like, when I had a 3B, I'm like, they better not release a 4 unless it can absolutely emulate N64. Otherwise, you got all these RetroPie users who won't upgrade. So, they know what they're doing. I mean, they even list the RetroPie distribution on their installer too. So yeah, and side note, I ended up going with Ubuntu 2004 LTS on this thing. So it's just like any of my other servers. It's just like any of my other Kubernetes nodes. Just runs on a different processor architecture, and it's not as powerful, but it can do the same stuff, and that's what I'm starting to learn. It's actually really awesome. Snoopy. Chicago Samurai. I just slapped together a Raspberry Pi setup for a NetPi. Just put on the screen. Nice. Yeah, it's super fun. Super fun. I've been doing it for a long time. Most people know me for home lab stuff. But I've been doing Pi stuff for a long time. I mean, that display, I have an old video where I put it together. I didn't even share it on YouTube because this was before YouTube. But it's super fun stuff, especially that one back there. That's where I was just like, I'm gonna try to do something kind of like artwork, but also Raspberry Pi. So it's really cool. I'll show you sometime up close. I specifically chose rainbow cables and picked them out from, some supplier that had rainbow ribbon cables and stuff like that. So I put a lot of time into it and put it in inside of a picture frame. I don't know why. And then did a lot of wiring. Snoopy, I'm setting up Heimdall and Organizer right now to see which one I like better. Yeah, let me know. Let me know. Organizer looks so awesome, and I've seen it, and a lot of people choose it. I think it's awesome. So is Heimdall, but let me know on Organizer. Heimdall, man, they've been having some, I don't know, a lot of weird errors lately. I should probably log them on their site, but I haven't updated my container in a while. But every now and then, when I go on one of my links, it's making an API call and it just bombs out. And I'm like, oh man, I should probably report that. Penguin Airlines, anything. Yeah, man, how's it going? Silver, sup, dude? Got my first RPI today. An RPI with RPI 4 gig. Nice, dude. That's almost exactly what I have. I love it. And it's fantastic. And one of the, if you get a PoE hat, you get a fan, which is pretty cool because now you get some cooling. But it's funny when you read the comments because they're all relative, right? People are like, this Raspberry Pi is so loud, and I'm thinking, I start looking at my servers, I look at my MacBook Pro, I look at my PC, I'm like, this thing is not loud, not loud at all. So if you see any of the comments where they're like, the fan is so loud, I mean, they probably don't use a laptop, they probably don't use a PC, and they probably don't have servers. So, but I get it. If you put it somewhere else, especially like in your bedroom or somewhere, you're gonna kind of hear that little fan going like you would anything else. I mean, the fan's this big, so you're gonna hear it. But anyways, I think it's fantastic, for sure. Planning on the Silver. Planning on setting up branch on it. Nice. Yeah. I'm kind of doing the same thing. I have a K3s cluster here. I added it to my cluster. I did that when I think Thursday. I added to my cluster, or maybe. Wait. Yeah. No, it was Wednesday night because I streamed Tuesday. Wednesday I got the right PoE hat. That night I had it joined to my cluster, and it just worked. It just worked. Same command, same everything, and it was just worked. And now I'm like, okay, well, why this doesn't seem special anymore? Because it I installed it just like it was a x86. I installed K3s using the same commands as I would on a virtual machine, and it just worked. And I didn't have to do anything different. And not that that's not special, but I was, expecting, a couple of hiccups here or a container's not running right. There are a few additional commands you need to run, and a few things I disabled for performance. But other than that, like it's no different than any other node in my cluster. So it's pretty cool stuff. PC Geek redeemed. Yeah, Northern Lights. I was busy working on my new server. Yeah. Tucano Generator was the first time I worked on an engine. Any experience is good experience, and I learned some stuff. Yeah, I haven't. I mean, lawnmowers maybe when I was a kid because they didn't work, and I had no idea what I was doing. I just knew not to touch the spark plug, and that was a big no-no. Budney, I was working on TrueNAS/Plex server, but the motherboard I was going to use died. I do have a replacement, just need a CPU cooler. Oh man, that stinks. It stinks when your motherboard dies. Yeah, it stinks when your motherboard dies, especially if it's a little bit older one, because then you have to, sometimes you overpay for ones that, aren't popular anymore, and that kind of stinks. And then you start evaluating like, well, should I just upgrade? If I had a motherboard from 4 years ago and it's on an older platform, could I get on a newer platform? And then you just go down this rabbit hole of totally upgrading and building a new PC or a new server. So. But it seems like you do have a replacement, so that's cool. But that's what goes on in my head. I'm just like, yeah, this is, Haswell, okay, LGA, whatever, 2011. Okay, that's old. I'm going to overpay for the motherboard. And then do I just upgrade everything? And the answer is usually yeah, for me. But yeah, I hope you get it figured out. Just need a CPU cooler. All right. But yeah, it's the worst when your motherboard goes. Anything else, I don't think. I mean, maybe your CPU. I've never had a CPU go bad on me. But anything else, you're just kind of like, okay, I'll replace it. Well, with motherboards, it's very involved. You're basically rebuilding your machine. You're taking it out and then building it again to get the same result, except for working. Let's go. Zorks. I'm going with that. Zorks. If I code listening to a podcast, I eventually realized I did not hear one word of the podcast. Yeah, I totally agree. If I listen to any kind of spoken word, I'm kind of like in this weird zone where I'm not sure about the code I just wrote, and I'm not sure about what the person just said to me. I'm the same way. My wife does creative stuff, and so she's totally fine with it because she's not typing on the keyboard. She's pen, mouse, digital artwork, and so for her, she listens to podcasts all day, and I'm like, man, I wish I could kind of get caught up or listen to these podcasts that other people listen to, but. When you're typing, I mean, just think if you're counting and someone else starts counting, you start to second guess what number you're on. And that's how I feel with code. When I hear words, sometimes those words could get into code. That could be dangerous. That could be dangerous. But yeah. You fucking knew it. How do you clean the fins of the CPU cooler and a heatsink? Yeah, very carefully. Ways I've done it in the past is blow air through it. So I've just gone. I have this. My brother. He runs his own remodeling company. Does construction work. He's done it for a long time. And he gave me this air compressor. That's like it's a tiny one, but it's like perfect for cleaning out my PC. And I think he knew that. And he was like, this doesn't work for me, but this will work for Tim. He doesn't use any machinery. And he gave it to me. And so anyways, so I use that very carefully. I just blow directly through the fins or try to go underneath and blow it out. But you got to be careful, especially if you use a compressor, because you can blow too hard, especially at the fins of a fan and break them. And so I just gradually just blow air until the fan totally spins. And I do the same thing on coolers, on the heatsink too. Real quick, Pony Swag, hey, thanks for the follow, appreciate it, welcome. And then, oh man, I clicked on the wrong playlist. That's gonna get me muted for sure. And so is that. Man, I should pay attention more on what I'm clicking on. Get a DMCA strike for playing that last song. Sorry, Twitch, didn't mean to. But anyways, so I don't use any tools. You could use a pipe cleaner to kind of sneak in between there and like just very gently brush at it. I try to use air only. For me, it's air only. And if it's really caked on there, then you might have to take it off and use some kind of cleaner like alcohol or something like that, depending on the type of metal. But yeah, that's what I do. I try to stick to air only. I'm pretty fortunate because, well, I have pets, but my PC is up off the ground pretty high because I have a standing desk. I'm standing right now. And so I kind of have it in between standing and sitting so all the cords can reach. And then on top of that, I have hardwood floors everywhere, so I don't have to worry about carpet dust, which a lot of people do. So if you have carpet and you have cats, yeah, this isn't just blowing air might not work. You might have to resort to pipe cleaners and or some rubbing alcohol or something like that. But yeah, it's not fun stuff, but it's pretty rewarding. Pretty rewarding after you get it all clean. MN Gap, currently rebuilding Kubernetes Raspberry Pi cluster using DietPi, 2Pi 4, 64-bit ARM, all right, and 2Pi 3Bs ARM, 32-bit, setting up Rancher OS and TrueNAS VM for controlling the whole setup. I love it. That is awesome. And so that's sweet. So you're totally going multi-architecture too, like I've been exploring. It's super fun. Hey, Manus, dude, thanks for the sub. Appreciate it. Tier 1 sub. Thank you so much, Manus. Manus underscores. Lots of underscores there. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. Dude, thanks for the sub. But MN Gap, yeah, totally. It's super fun. And multi-architecture cluster stuff is kind of fun. Until you realize, like, it's fun until you realize it works just like ARM and in x86 or 64 for the most part. If they've built their Docker images with multi-architecture, it's almost no change. It's actually pretty cool. It's almost, I don't want to say it's boring because it's really awesome. But when things in tech are boring, that means something is really awesome, right? It means it's working well, working as designed. And there aren't a ton of gotchas, and that's what I'm realizing so far with my Raspberry Pi. I worried. I won't tell you how many times I worried, like, oh my gosh, when I do this in the future, how do I, on my Raspberry Pis, how do I call for, ARM-based builds, and then on my x86 processors, how do I call for, x86 versions of these containers? And no, they figured it out, and it's awesome. And I think Docker figured a lot of it out too. Bigsby, hey, thanks for the sub, Prime sub, dude. Thank you so much, Prime sub. Thank you. Anyways, I'm excited for you. Let me know what you find out. I mean, I'm exploring this too. It's pretty fun. Am I going to totally switch over to all Raspberry Pis? No, no. But am I going to have one of my cluster that has a lot of my, critical services in case my power goes off? You betcha. You betcha. That's a Minnesota thing. That's a you betcha Minnesota and Wisconsin thing. I've never said it until now. I think that's my first time ever saying it. I've been here too long. Ilu, designing a fish tank stand in the in the program Fusion 360. All right, I need more information because this is sounding awesome. Designing a fish tank stand in the program Fusion 360. I don't know what Fusion 360 is. Probably a program. I want to know more because it sounds pretty awesome. Yeah, I want to know more. Tell me more because I love fish tank stuff. I don't have one, so I'll live vicariously through other people. PC Geek, I saw a video on creating wildcard certs using pfSense and HA proxy to use SSL for private services without exposing any of them to the internet or opening any ports. Interesting. So video on creating wildcard certs using pfSense and HA proxy to use SSL for private services without exposing any of them to the internet. I do that. I do that now. And you can do that now with anything. It doesn't necessarily take pfSense, but you can do that now. You can do that, a combination of Let's Encrypt, and if you use a DNS provider that has an API, you can do that. And so you use the DNS provider instead of the HTTP provider if you're using Let's Encrypt. And so all that does is just say, you use their API to validate that you own a domain, and then you can create, publicly signed certificates that you only use internally. And it's pretty awesome if that's what I'm understanding you're talking about. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I mean, I do that now. I mean, I have some public services, but then I have a lot of private services that have SSL internally that aren't exposed externally. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome, and hence why I've been going down this path of multiple load balancers. That's not so awesome, but fun to figure out. And I need to wrap it up before I forget it all. I need to wrap that up for sure. Morvia, so Tim, do you consider getting a full-time YouTuber content creator, or do you love your job too much? That's my boss watching right now? No, I'm kidding. It depends. No, I will say this, like I enjoy creating content as a hobby. So let me put it this way. I love being a software engineer. I love working where I work. And I work at a small startup. It's fantastic. Like I love it. I really love it. I've been there, almost since the beginning, and it's very rewarding work. I like the people I work with. A lot of them are my friends and have been my friends, and I've known them for a long time. So it's super fun. And that exercises my brain in a very different way than my hobbies. And so, arguably my hobbies are still really tech focused. Because my hobbies are infrastructure. My hobbies are home lab and networking and also creating content. And that's kind of why I got into this, because I was like, I want to start documenting the stuff that I'm doing in video, and then it turned into what it is today. So those are still my hobbies. If my hobbies became my full-time job, then what would my new hobbies be? And that's tough. That's tough. I feel like it would be more of my hobbies, which is totally fine. But I enjoy doing both for now. Absolutely, I do. It's fun. I get to solve tough problems and build stuff at work with code and solve problems, address challenges, help people. with code, and it's super fun. And I get to do some of that here at home, mainly for myself or for other small projects I work on or some open source stuff, and that's fun. But if I took that chunk of 8-9 hours a day out and filled it with more content, then I'd have to find another hobby. I'd have to, and I don't know what that'd be. And maybe that's okay. I don't like not knowing. But yeah, to answer your question directly, I do love my job a lot, and I like the separation of concerns. I like that I have a day job, and even for a startup, it's very stable, and I like to do this as a hobby, and so yeah, it's awesome. A lot of it gets kind of jumbled right now because of the pandemic and stuff like that, and so. I think there will be more separation when people start going back to the office and going back to normal life, whatever the new normal is. And then so I'll have, a little bit more of that social interaction that we had before that I think everybody's looking for. Maybe they're not, maybe they are. But that'll help, I think, too, with that. So I don't know where I'm going with that. I'm starting to, this is turning into therapy. I won't let it go that way. But anyways, I do enjoy it, and I really enjoy. I enjoy them both equally, and I enjoy them for different reasons. And so I don't see myself going, full-time content creator anytime soon. But that can all change. Who knows? Maybe I don't have a job next week, and I'll have to do it. I'll just say this: if it did happen, I would absolutely. If that happened, I would absolutely try to go all in. Because when else am I going to be able to try to go all in? No time soon, or at a time when it might not be right. Anyways, if you're watching, please don't fire me. I'm kidding. Zafia, let me get this right. Safida, I'm going with that. Safida, hey, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. Nice aesthetic to your stream layout. Coding and coffee. Hey, thank you. Appreciate it. It's taken a lot of time, and a lot of it's input from you guys. This chat window you're seeing over here is input directly from chat because they were like, hey, sometimes you get behind in chat like I am today, and we want to know what you're talking about. Otherwise, it seems pre-recorded. So it's absolutely not. But yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. It's been an evolving process. It wasn't like this a year ago. And so I, taken bits and pieces from things I was inspired by and kind of put them all together. But I appreciate it. There are more scenes too. There are definitely more scenes. I've been working on this one a little bit. I don't know if there's my GoXLR. This is my other one, but it rarely gets used. It gets used when we did Raspberry Pi stuff last week. So yeah, appreciate it. Or earlier this week. Thank you, PC Geek. Appreciate it, dude. Usually I don't update BIOS unless I need fixing for something or supporting a new that I need. Yeah, I know what you mean. And I go back and forth with that too. I just get really excited about BIOS updates. But yeah, I hear you, man. Because the developer in me is always like, okay, keep my environment the same until I'm ready to make a change. But then the geek in me is always like, latest and greatest. Let's do this, So yeah. Takano Casa Smart Switch sadly doesn't have any Ethernet ports and lack of VLAN support, but they control my fans. All right, that's the other brand you were talking about. Don't know much about that brand, but yeah, don't have VLAN support. Interesting. Oh, but they don't have VLAN support. Okay, but couldn't you just put that whole entire your IoT network on a VLAN on your Wi-Fi? I think that's what I do. I don't know if how you have your setup will work that way though. Snoopy, you would think with my luck, I would pay someone to do all my stuff for me, but I feel like, but I like to break my own stuff. Yeah, I do too. I like to break my own stuff because I feel like I learn when I break my stuff. I learn what not to do or what to do or what did work or what should work. But yeah, for sure. Yeah, man, I hear you. Pony Swag, what's the purpose in having a server? Ooh. Good one. This is a good one for tomorrow. It could be anything. And I think this really ties into, what is a home lab and what do people do with a home lab and what the heck, why do people call it a home lab? But what do people do with the servers? And so if you break it down in its simplest term, a server is really just a computer that serves information to other computers. I mean, in its simplest form, right? And take out hardware, take out all of the things that make it, that muddy up the waters or that blur the idea. But as far as roles are concerned, it's any computer that serves information to another computer. And so if you think of, I mean, a lot of people in here run Plex or run some media server in their home, right? And so they have a server that holds all of their media that can transfer that media to all of their clients. And those clients could be your TV, your Xbox, your PlayStation, your phone, a web browser, another computer, or a smart TV, you name it. And so, you know, in its simplest form, that's all it's doing. Holding some information and serving it out to other computers on the network, or on a network, I should say. It doesn't have to be on your local network. It could be through the internet. And yeah, tune in tomorrow because I touch on that a lot. But yeah, I mean, it could be anything, and that's just one tiny role of a server. There are so many roles. I mean, you think of web pages, game servers, custom code servers, you name it. So many things you can do. Chimanfit. I want to say this better. Chimanfit. I'm gonna go with Chimanfit. That's probably so wrong. I got a Dell R620 and moved to a virtual machine off my FreeNAS, machine onto a Dell with Proxmox. Set up Rancher and moved all the services to it. The videos you posted are very helpful in making the transition. Hey, awesome. Thank you. Yeah, that's a big transition. So you went from FreeNAS doing your virtualization and maybe some of your containerization to reverse it around, then get a hypervisor and then get your virtual machines and your containers running there. That's awesome. That's a big conversion. So congratulations. That's really awesome. I've been there before, and it's super rewarding once you get it working for sure. Chicano, Pony Swag, one major factor is the show-off factor. But for me, I have a server to set up as a router, a file server for testing Docker stuff, and so on. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and it doesn't even really technically have to serve out a ton of stuff. It can be a test bed for other things. I mean, then you're just talking about some remote computer. But yeah, absolutely. Testing, sandbox, you name it. Tylar's, fantastic YouTube content. Thank you. Keep up the great work. My Saturday project is setting up a Raspberry Pi 4 with Pi-hole. Look at it. Everyone's coming out of the woodworks with Raspberry Pis. I love it. I just mention it and people come out. It's almost up there with printers and network speed tests. Don't bring that up ever. Because not that I don't want you to talk about it, but man, people have a lot to say about printers and network speed tests. We learned that. But anyways, Pi 4 with Pi-hole, awesome. Awesome. That's Pi 4 is a fantastic machine. It's fantastic. I haven't noticed anything that I would even, no qualms or no beef with Pi 4. It's great. And, I have a pretty, I'm running Kubernetes on it, and I thought, I've kind of heard about performance stuff. I haven't noticed a thing. And I spun up three custom workloads on here. Worked without a hitch, and I was like, okay, I like where this is going. But yeah, awesome. Pi-hole, yeah, absolutely. It'll crush it with Pi-hole. I ran Pi-hole on a Pi 2 and Pi 3, and it was totally fine. It was great. It was great. I think the only thing I would say, and you're probably going to do this, is, if you're going to do it for Pi-hole and DNS request, make sure it's wired. I mean, does it have to be wired? No. But, you don't want that latency in there if you're going to go wireless for your DNS. Just adding in a little additional latency probably isn't the greatest for resolving DNS. But other than that, yeah, fantastic. Sigor, how's it going? Good to see you. Veranos, you look like, here we go. You look like the males on my dad's side of the family, by the way. All right. Is that a good thing? I'll go with that. I'll say it's a good thing. Because if you're referring to your dad and then all the males on his side, I'll take it. Thank you, appreciate it. I'll take that as a compliment. It's funny because I have three brothers, and a sister, so there's five total in my generation of my siblings, and most of us kind of look the same. So a lot of people kind of say that same thing too about they're like, your brothers look a lot alike, and it's like, yeah, we're all pretty close in age, and yeah, we all look relatively the same, so I could see how you would think that. Although I don't know what your dad's side of the family looks like, I'll take it as a compliment. Thank you, appreciate it. Woohoo! I just created my first Hello World text. John Berlin on an SMB share on TrueNAS inside of Proxmox, and I did it all following the tutorial. It took me, my tutorial, awesome. I was gonna say it was probably Tom Lawrence's or Craft Computing, because theirs are awesome. Took me 3 weekends and many tears, but I'm there. Awesome, John Berlin, John Berlin, congratulations. I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean, but when you say, and many tears, I know exactly what you mean. Because I went through the same thing too when I was new to things, and so I still remember. I can remember exactly how I felt when I networked 2 PCs for the first time, and so my tears weren't of frustration. My tears were of joy, and so I networked 2 Windows 98 machines together, my brothers and I, so we could play NBA Live 95, and it didn't even have a switch. I had a hub. And I networked 2 PCs together, and the day that I saw the hub lights like flash and the actual throughput light going up like a meter, I almost cried because I was like, I finally figured it out. Yeah, I had no idea what I was doing. I was so young, maybe not younger than most, but I was new to tech and I had no idea what I was doing. I was manually assigning IP addresses on Windows 98 machines, and I had no clue what I was doing. But I do still remember seeing that hub light up. And so just like your Hello World text, that joy that you felt, I can totally relate. And so congratulations. Now, here we go. You're going to start loading up your Samba share with all your files and have all of your data centralized. And be sure to back it up. It's another thing too. Not only locally, but somewhere else outside of your house in case something happens. If you care about the data. But congratulations. That's super awesome. Let me grab a drink real quick because there's a point where I don't. Yeah, I'm gonna grab one. TMI. Chicano, Techno Tim on the TV, chat on the phone. On the TV, chat on the phone. Wait, what? Oh, all right, I'm on the TV. All right, Chicano, I'm all in your house. Awesome, man. And then chat on the phone. Sweet, dude. I like it. Pony swag. Not very techie, but I broke the mouse wheel of my old Technet mouse. Decided to order a new one and spray some paint and give my mouse some more flair. I like it. No, I love customizing stuff. I'm a huge fan of customizing stuff and making it your own, especially like painting. Yeah, painting a mouse. Yeah, I'm all for it. A buddy of mine used to paint all his old PCs. He'd spray paint them. One was yellow and he named it Tweety. I have no idea why. Neil, if you're watching, it was awesome, but but yeah, I'm all about customization stuff too. PC Geek, I picked up an apple pie from the grocery store today. Right? Oh man, yeah. I love it. Keep them coming. John Berlin, also have a question. After having so much success with your tutorial, all right, I like it. You're already on to what are you doing next? I need a dynamic DNS client running. DD client worked in the past. Would you recommend doing this in Proxmox, an VM or LXC container? Yeah, all acceptable. I would say if you have a router in place that does it, there's a really good place to do it. So I'll talk about where I would do it if you're new, because you'll be able to lean into some of the technologies that you already have, and then I'll talk about some of the more advanced stuff. But yeah, so if you're looking for a dying DNS client, I would look at your router. A lot of routers have it built in, and that's a lot of places people don't even think to look. Because they were like, yeah, I want to containerize this or run it on a virtual machine and set up cron jobs and all this stuff. I'm all for that if you know what you're doing. But if you're new to it, I would say look at your router. A lot of the times they have a lot of dynamic DNS clients built in. And they might have Duck DNS built in. I'm a huge fan of Duck DNS. And if that's built in, I would say go there. Do that first, because then that's a no-brainer. Your router is always going to be on. It's always going to know its public IP address and very little room for error. And you'll never have to worry about maybe moving that somewhere else, or if that container's not running, all the things that come along with running it somewhere else. If you want to graduate from that and do something a little more, techie or whatever, a little more involved, I personally run mine inside of Docker containers. I run them inside of Kubernetes, but that doesn't matter. So I run them inside of containers. I'll just put it that way. So LXC, absolutely good choice. Docker or Containerd or however else you do containerization, absolutely good choice. Those are all work for sure too. And then virtual machine, another great option. There are lots of clients, and like you recommended, DD client worked in the past. I haven't used DD client. I'm sure it'll work fine. I would just make sure that a couple of things to make sure it works. Obviously, make sure it's running. Make sure that the cron job gets set up properly. Make sure it's able to resolve your DNS properly. Sometimes some block lists you have on Pi-hole or however you have it set up, treat that as tracking. So they, the way that they resolve IPs can sometimes be blocked. So make sure that's working. And you can do that with NSLookup or dig web and many other ways to verify that that's working. But yeah, I mean, if you're asking what I do personally, I run it in a container. I run Docker for my container runtime for now. Inside of Kubernetes. And it doesn't have to be inside of Kubernetes, but I like all my containers there because Kubernetes, because of all the things you get with it. So yeah, lots of ways to do it. I would say though, if you're brand new and want a quick win, do it on your router. That's easy. And then later on, you can, when you get more familiar with things in general, absolutely move it to a virtual machine somewhere or move it inside of a container. Yeah, great question. Chicano, anyone know of a way to have Pi announce when a VLAN, Pi announce what VLAN it's on and tag the traffic itself as a PoE switch I have as a dumb switch? I don't, man. I don't. Yeah, I don't. I mean, I put mine on a VLAN that's already tagged, so I don't have it doing any of the tagging. I don't, dude. I'll have to look. Somebody else just ordered a Pi 4 for RetroPie. All right, yeah, for sure. RetroPie is so awesome. Antithones, thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. Yeah, Pi 4 or RetroPie in general, absolutely. It's like it's everything I wanted when I was younger. And it's everything that I wanted for a long time on x86. x86 like never figured it out. I know that RetroArch, what it runs, I think underneath the OS called RetroPie, works on x86 too, but it's so refined on a Raspberry Pi, just making it a whole entire OS. And so, I've used stuff in the past like JNES, ZNES, like all these things for all these emulators, and I was always just like, I wish I could have them in one place. And even my friend built an arcade cabinet, and this is like mid 2000s, and there was just not a lot of great options out there. So he built an arcade cabinet with a PC under there, an old PC, and we had to map buttons for how you select the file and a trackball for selecting, moving around and selecting the other emulator. It was not fun. And so RetroPie's really figured it out. RetroArch, really. And then RetroPie is the OS that runs RetroArch. So awesome. I wish it was around earlier, but it's here now, so that's all that matters. But yeah, a ton of fun, and you could wire that thing up to a cabinet now too. The way we did it was, he had an old cabinet. We tore apart a keyboard. We took those I'm sure there's better ways now. I mean, you could probably buy the buttons, but this was like I said, early 2000s. Took apart a keyboard so that we had the key maps, and we knew and wired those up to buttons. So we knew like pressing one of the buttons was the K key, or the J key or A key or whatever, as many keys as you want from the keyboard, and that's how we did it. But it's so many better options now. But yeah, I agree. So awesome. Carcelao, I'm going with that. Hi Tim, trying to follow the Minecraft Rancher tutorial you have. I made sure to use the updated commands for Rancher 2.5. I tried doing a non-mirrored base drive based on some YouTube comments, but I'm still stuck in the situation where Rancher Docker containers keeps rebooting when trying to deploy a cluster. Any ideas? Yeah, good question. So when you're trying to deploy a cluster, I mean, it should, I hate to say this, but it should just work. And if it doesn't just work, it means that something's wrong. That's like the worst answer ever. But in general, like it should just work. And I should try this on my test bed again, is just to do exactly what you're doing. I mean, when you create a cluster, it should just work, and it should give you the commands to run and install the agent, and you install the agent, and depending on the machine type, within minutes or a couple of minutes, you should have your cluster up and running. If you if you let me know in Discord the commands you're using, which you said you used the documentation, which is a good clue because that means you looked at the documentation because it's been updated since that release. Yeah, ping me in Discord and let's figure it out. Because, you know, I don't know off the top of my head. I mean, there were people just this morning in Discord talking about, you know, challenges that they were running into, but they were past this point, right? And so that's how I know that in general, it should just work. Because they were past this point. They were actually at the point where they had a cluster or didn't create a cluster other than the one that was there called local. And then they created it and then everything else worked. So let me know. I'd like to figure this one out only because it comes up every now and then. And I'd love to add it to my documentation. And at the same time, if you figure it out before we figure it out, yeah, open a pull request in my docs because I would love it. I would love it because there are a few things I even realized this morning I need to add to it. So hopefully that helps. I know that doesn't help, but hopefully it can point you in the right direction to like, hey, let's figure this out in Discord or something. Because I don't know off the top of my head. I'd have to do it myself. And unfortunately, if I did it myself, I hope I wouldn't come to the same conclusion because that would just mean that Rancher's busted. And we don't want that, and they should know about that. Zoid25, shout out for John for all the help. Yeah, John, dude, thanks for the help. I mean, shout out to everyone in Discord that helps. There are so many people in Discord that help so much. I can't believe how much people help in our Discord. Real quick, Basic Taco, thanks for the follow. Paper City Gamer, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Yeah, I 100% agree. John, PC Geek, Ilude, Manny. There's probably now and then I'm naming names. There's so many people that I'm gonna miss, but I really sincerely appreciate all the help in the Discord. I mean, these folks are, I've said it a few times, but they'll spin up a whole entire environment just to see, you know, if they can figure out the problem or replicate your problem. And that's incredible. That's incredible. I mean, you won't even get that from support you pay for, you know, and these people are just donating their time and just wanting to help. I totally agree with that sentiment. I would say thank you to everyone who helps. And even if it's just chatting or just hey or sharing stuff, I totally appreciate it. So totally agree. Mo and Marty started a home lab services with your inspiration. All right. Yes. Awesome. I can't wait to hear more about what you're going to build. Info upgraders. I'm listening. I promise. All right. Yeah. You have a bug on line 48. Yeah. Oh man, you are a great multitasker then, because I can't do that. It's hard for me to, yeah, like I said, write code and listen to a spoken word at the same time. Seagore, donut air compressors are great. Yeah, I think that's what I have. It's just like this little blue round. It looks like a donut. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I agree. And at first when he gave it to me, I'm like, okay, this will pump up my tire. And then I was like, oh, well, he even said, he's like, you could probably dust out your computers with these. I'm like, why didn't I think of that? And that's exactly why he gave it to me, you know? And I was just like, yeah. So anyways, yeah, I'm a huge fan of like, you know, small compressors for blowing out computers, but you got to go easy. You got to ease your way in, especially if you're blowing on fans. You don't want to go full throttle right away on a fan because you can break a fin. And Tiffany's, Carcelau, I had that problem, and it was because the network wasn't connecting. Check your network settings. All right, people helping people even in the chat. I love it. Drunk Ronnie, are you still using virtualized TrueNAS? How is that working out? Drunk Ronnie, yeah, great question. Am I still using virtualized TrueNAS? 100% I am. 100%. Yeah, ever since I created that video, which was a long time ago, I think it's maybe a year ago. Yeah, I've been doing it. And probably a little bit before that because I wanted to make sure it worked before I started talking about it. But yeah, 100%. And even when I built my new 1U servers, I migrated that virtual machine over, and that's all I had to do. Another great reason for virtualizing things. Migrated that virtual machine over. Well, I didn't have a cluster at the time, so technically I backed it up to NFS and restored it from NFS. And then passed through that HBA, installed the HBA controller, and then mapped it to that virtual machine. But 100%, yeah, I'm still virtualizing TrueNAS. It's great. It's, you know, there are a few things in my infrastructure where, you know, I've made changes and decided, you know, hey, yeah, I'm not going to containerize this or I'm not going to virtualize this. I'm going to containerize it. I've always flip-flopped on those things depending on where I'm at right now with my infrastructure. But TrueNAS is the one thing that I still have not, I have not physicalized or ran physically on its own machine. It's been virtualized ever since the beginning. And it's worked out great. Zero qualms. I have no regrets. You know, and every now and then, you know, I do wish it was on a virtual machine. So, you know, you got to take the bad with the good. And so some of the cons are, you know, when I reboot my virtual host, then I lose all of my shares. Is that a huge problem? Not really, because, you know, another reason why I chose Longhorn and the way I have things set up, it's not a huge problem. It does mean that my machines, you know, don't have shares while the machine's rebooting. But you know, then I'm in the same situation I would be in as if I needed to reboot TrueNAS itself, even if it was physical. So, you know, I had to prepare for that or think through that, like what would happen in this scenario. So yeah, still virtualized. I love it. Will I ever go physical? Maybe. The only thing that would ever make me, so this is, I'm going to ask all the questions you didn't ask. But the only reason why I would go back to physical, if ever, is because if I ever decide to replace my disk shelf, not that I'm going to replace it anytime soon, but you know, lately I've been thinking about, you know, what should my storage look like for the next couple of years? I did this like almost a year ago or I don't know how long ago, maybe 6 months. I don't know. You know, when I built I got my disk shelf almost exactly a year ago, and then I started designing my storage for the next couple of years. I might have overbought and I might have been overzealous on what I was going to actually keep. As far as data is concerned, because as you know, I record a lot of videos and I have hours and probably hundreds of hours of footage of me messing up and things I don't want to keep. I'll just put it that way. And so, you know, I'm really starting to assess, like, do I really need to keep this stuff? And if I didn't keep this stuff, I wouldn't need to grow my storage anymore. So anyways, if I ever get to that point, I will absolutely let you know. If it ever did become physical, then those drives would end up living inside of that server. And it would be those two reasons, because and it's not because virtualization didn't work out. It's just because, well, if I'm not going to have a disk shelf like this, you know, if I have a new, you know, server that can hold 6 or 12 disks, then I don't need a disk shelf. And then at the same time, I'm not going to virtualize it anymore because that doesn't make any sense. Or maybe it will. But yeah, great question. As you can see, I have no idea. These are all things I think about. Things that, you know, I think about as I'm walking around. And so I haven't really figured it out yet. I'll definitely let you know. But I will say that, you know, TrueNAS virtualized is still fantastic. Zero problems. It works great. Another added benefit of keeping it virtual too is that all of my virtual machines have 10 gigabit Ethernet. And so I don't, you know, it's virtualized. And so I don't have 10 gig in my network, except for all the virtual NICs, which, you know, are a lot of virtual machines that have 10 gig. Not that they even need to utilize that. There's only one machine ever that saturates a gig. Well, I take that 2 when I run backups for all my virtual machines, but then my workstation does too. So anyways, another added benefit of having, you know, it virtualizes, it gets a virtual 10 gig NIC. But, you know, that's only for things that are connected to that virtual switch within your virtual infrastructure within that virtual machine. So it's probably not worth talking about, but yeah, staying virtual until I can't virtual anymore. Hun Monster. Hey, how's it going? Hey there. How you doing? And Janu. Hey guys, how's it going? Takano, speaking of machinery, if you guys want some cheap tools, check out Harbor Freight. Yeah, it's to 100%. 10% of everything except open box gift cards. If you sign up for the membership, $20 a year, you sign up online, they'll send you a $10 gift card. I like it. 20% off everything. I like it. Yeah, totally. They have some of the best cheap tools if you're doing you know, a one-time job or a seldom often job. Yeah, it's so inexpensive, I should say. Boca, hi, first timer. Love your Proxmox videos. Thank you. I'd like to make my existing computer into an ISO and then run it in Proxmox, if possible. How so? So I see what you're saying. So Boca, what you're trying to do is do a P2V, so physical to virtual. So you want to convert your physical machine to a virtual machine. It is possible, might be kind of tough. I think a lot of people have used Clonezilla for this, and I think that's even what Proxmox recommends in their documentation on their wiki, is that you first want to capture your machine in Clonezilla and capture that image somewhere, probably on a network or some other device, but I've always done it over the network. And then you're basically, I think, going to image that machine, that Proxmox machine, create a virtual machine in Proxmox, and then basically image that machine. Now, There are a lot of caveats to that because depending on, there's just a ton of caveats. That's the process. Whether or not it works depends on a lot of factors. Like that machine, when it spins up, it's going to think, hey, I'm on a brand new machine right now. I don't have the hardware I had before. I don't have the CPU I had before, or the RAM, or the hard drives. I know all of that stuff. And you can capture all those drives individually. Maybe you just have one. And so Windows, it's probably going to be Windows. I'm making assumptions, but it's going to freak out. And so, how much it freaks out is kind of up to how much hardware you have in that machine. But I will say, though, that it's probably going to trigger a rearm or a reactivation of Windows to where, Windows is, you might have to reactivate it. And so you might run into that, and then you'll have to reactivate it. Not a huge deal if you are only going to use it on that machine. I think that's totally acceptable. But Windows will think you're trying to install it on more machines than the one it was originally on. So you'll have to figure that out. Not a huge deal. If it says like, hey, your key doesn't work, you're going to need your key. If it says, hey, your key doesn't work, call this 1-800 number or whatever. Whatever Windows tells you to do, I would just do it. Most of the time, they're just going to give you a new activation code. You activate it and you're done. But you have to look at your license. I don't know what kind of license you have. But anyways, that's going way deep on Microsoft licensing. But anyways, let's see. I'm a bad. Oh, let me get this. I'm bad and I'm bad and bougie. That's right. 2 questions. Have you tried virtualizing Synology, and learning a lot with Docker and Rancher? But do you use Azure, AKS, or similar AKS industry standard? Is AKS an industry standard? Real quick. Coil, TwitchBot, hey, thanks for the bits, dude. Appreciate it. 100 bits. Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate it. How you doing? I'm bad and bougie. So have I tried virtualizing Synology? So I think Synology, last time I looked, correct me if I'm wrong, is kind of a reverse engineered version of Synology. It basically allows you to run Synology on non-Synology hardware. I think last time I checked, I think that's what it is. Have I tried virtualizing? No, because what does Synology give people? Well, it gives them network attached storage as well as other things like hypervisors or containerization. And you know my answer for that. What do I use for network attached storage? I use TrueNAS. What do I use for containerization? Docker, Kubernetes, Rancher. And what I use for hypervisor, I use Proxmox. So for me, I wouldn't get much out of Synology. And don't get me wrong, they're great devices. But virtualizing it and then trying to get bits and pieces out of it, wouldn't be the greatest for me. I think you get Btrfs too, which is pretty cool. But so virtualizing something like that doesn't fit into what I need out of it. Is it possible? I've heard of people doing it. I think that's why it exists, so that you can install it on non-Synology hardware. I think it is. Correct me if I'm wrong, but haven't tried it. And I'm sure there's documentation on the web for something like that if you're interested. And you even say there, Docker Rancher. And then going into your question about Azure AKS, so Azure Kubernetes Service, or their acronym for Kubernetes as a Service. And it's similar. Is it an industry standard? It depends. So I haven't looked into, so I've done stuff in Azure, right? I've done Kubernetes in Azure. And I get the same exact API that I get from any version of Kubernetes. Hey, Othran, how's it going, man? Resub, Prime, 10 months, dude. Oh, yes. How's it going, man? Dude, good to see you. So I know him IRL. So good to see you, dude. How you been? How you been? Yes, yeah. Oh, I wish I could see that emoji right now. But anyways, how's it going, man? Good to see you. So anyways, I have done AKS stuff in Azure. It was kind of very early on. I get a lot of, from what I recall, I get the same Kubernetes API that I got from any other Kubernetes that I've run. I've done Kubernetes in GCP, a lot of that. I've done some in AWS. I've done some in Azure, and I do self-hosted, multiple ways self-hosted Kubernetes. So industry standard, I don't know, because I don't know if AKS is a fork or another distribution of Kubernetes. Hopefully it's not. And hopefully their tool for their Azure client is just a wrapper around commands that still call kube control. So at the end of the day, if you can run your kube control commands, because that's 99% of what you're going to do when doing Kubernetes stuff, operational type stuff or deploying stuff. If that works, then yeah, good enough. But I would look into it to see if they're using a fork of Kubernetes or if they've created their own distribution of Kubernetes. And I would look into that. I mean, Google, Amazon, Azure, they're all going to do something a little bit different. But at the end of the day, if the interface that you use, for a control plane, the Kubernetes endpoint, and your kube control commands work, I'd say that's good enough. Because there are so many distributions of Kubernetes. Like I run K3s at home now. Another distribution of Kubernetes. Do I care that much? Not really. As long as my kube control commands work there the same as everywhere else, then for me it's not a huge deal. But each distribution has things they've either added or taken away, and so those are the things you want to kind of look into. But if you're asking if it's an industry standard as a consumer or as a developer, I would just look to make sure that the commands you use the most are going to work, and they're going to work. Otherwise, people wouldn't use it. And then from there on, you're just going to have to, I would Google it. I don't know if it's the industry standard. There are tons of companies run their business in Azure. Same with AWS. Same with Google Cloud, GCP. I mean, it'd be hard for them not to kind of do a one-off and everyone be kind of okay with it. Unless there was good reason for it. I mean, sometimes they do. Yeah, absolutely. Bigsby, thank you for all the great content. Thank you. Appreciate it, man. Thank you. If it's person, thank you. Drunk Ronnie, CAD program. Oh man, I lost the thread on that one. Let me know. PC Geek, it's a 3D design. Oh, I gotcha. Yeah, the 3D studio, I think. Awesome, thank you. Yeah, designing a okay, now I'm there. Now I'm there, Eyelid. Sorry, took me a while. Only took me, 20 minutes, but I got you. And Janu, does anyone here have an experience working with Salesforce? Ooh. I say that jokingly just because I'm a developer. And so, Salesforce. Yeah. Anyways, I don't personally. PC Geek, you can make and print 3D print stuff, Fusion 3D too. All right. See, all this 3D printer stuff. I don't own a 3D printer stuff. I'm such a noob when it comes to 3D printing. I get it. I mean, I understand what they are, what you can do with them, but I have zero experience with owning one and building stuff for them and, finding designs and printing those out. I need the one project that makes me do it. The one project that will pay for the thing that I would have bought that I could actually print out. And so I'm excited for it though. But the way I look at it, the longer I wait, the better they're going to get or the cheaper they're going to get. So I'm super excited about it to get one. But I can wait too. I can wait. Carl's Lau, entities, it may be called getting a lot of failed content for your proxy messages and the Docker logs for the container. Thanks. Okay, you guys are figuring that out. Let me know if you need help. Pizza Geek, you make a public domain, but it points to a private IP address, so it only works on your network or when you VPN into your network. Yeah, that'll work too, for sure. Hal Weston, hello. I try to sync data between nodes using rsync. So I jump with rsync on Docker, and I have much more to learn, but I like it. Nice. Yeah. rsync is fantastic. Mantis, any home security camera recommendations, especially E2E options? Ideally with HomeKit support. Yeah, that one's tough. HomeKit support, that's tough when you get into cameras with HomeKit support. So real quick, I've done home security stuff. I've done it. Roll your own Blue Iris. I've used other things in Blue Iris. I use that for years. Recently, I switched to Unified Solution Protect. So you're asking then ones that are compatible with HomeKit support. I think the only way I've discovered this is one, look in the Apple Store, the Apple Shop, whatever, because they list all their HomeKit compatible ones there too. I think Logitech is big in this area. I think they've been doing stuff with Apple. Not that they're the best, but they have stuff there. The other thing is, if you have a HomeKit, how did I discover it? I launched HomeKit, went into add new device, and it was cameras, and then it showed me a list of compatible cameras. Obviously, those are only the ones that Apple sells, so it's not going to be an exhaustive list. But yeah, those are the ones that that I can think of off the top of my head. camera recommendations are tough, especially when you say, hey, HomeKit compatible. If you take that off, then you have, a wide swath of cameras that you can use, but then it all goes back to, okay, well, what's your camera security solution, right? Because even if you get a HomeKit compatible, camera, you still need something that's possibly going to record, unless you want everything in real time. Like, hey, there was just motion somewhere and you got to check really quick. I mean, you got to record somewhere. So that one's tough. And I've been exploring something with Unify Protect, where there's this HomeKit compatible thing with HomeBridge, where they make all of your cameras HomeKit compatible. It mostly works. It's actually pretty cool. But then you're going all in with Unify. So it's really going to be up to you. Those are tough. I think I think you're, I see where you're going. You're working backwards from, hey, I want to do HomeKit, and I'm working backwards. Okay, what's compatible with HomeKit? And, Apple has a long list. I would say just go out to their site, because they're going to list the ones that they believe in too, right? Not just the ones that say they are. They're going to be the ones that they believe in too, that are going to give you a good experience. But yeah, it's going to be hit or miss. Apple needs to get caught up in a lot of home automation stuff, and until they do, it's going to be tough. And I think honestly, it's going to be them that's going to end up building all these things eventually. I mean, they're just slowly building everything themselves. And I've asked for years, like, why is Apple so behind in home automation? But they're just building up the platform, and it's just like this giant that is going to wake up one day in IoT. And I don't know, maybe Apple will be there. Who knows? Zafida, not personal project, but I'm in Australia getting cybersecurity trained. Nice. Through the TAFE system, TAFE here. We work through quite a lot of practical exercises. And you can say that the project is to get ready to work in the industry. Nice. Congratulations. Getting close. I like it. Therapy. I love it. Zafida, nice pronunciation. I hope that's how you pronounce your name, because that's how I've been saying it. But let me know if I pronounce anyone's name wrong. Tell me, because I'm gonna pick one way and I'll say it that way until you correct me. Drunk Robbie, still using TrueNAS on top of Proxmox? If so, how's it going? I think I answered that one. Snoopy, I'm running TrueNAS on Proxmox and it runs fine. Haven't had any issues. Yeah. I have to say that I like the way Organizer looks, but it won't connect to Sonar or Radar. Just prompts for username and password. Takano, speaking of printers. Oh, MNGAP. Haha. Speaking of printers. Oh no, here we go. No, I got a new fancy label printer that works with your phone. All right. All right. I don't even want to go into printers because it's a long, dark topic here in my home because of MDNS, or the lack of MDNS support for AirPrint printers with Unify. But I won't go there. TLJ game, quick cue for everyone. Oh gosh. Okay, there. Opinion on Pi-hole on a Pi Zero. Trying to avoid using real Pi. Actually, just got 4 Pis and waiting on the remaining PoE hats. TLG game, I would say go for it. Very little resources. I mean, it's going to need some RAM to cache some stuff. It's totally fine. The only thing is, like, I mentioned this earlier, if you're going to go that route, you're going to want to do it hardwired. And on a Pi Zero, to get hardwired, you're going to need to get mini, I don't remember. Some USB to network connection. I think it's micro. USB to network connection for Ethernet to then plug in to reduce some of the latency. Should be totally fine. Other than that, if you can get the latency down, yeah, absolutely. It'll work for sure. Nick Rowe, still loving your YouTube tutorials. Thank you. Keep them coming. My server doesn't support IOMMU PCI pass-through for your tutorials with FreeNAS in a VM. Something I'll be doping soon. I like it. Doping it soon. Doing it soon. I got you. Thanks so much. Yeah, that's tough. That's tough when you buy, when you buy hardware at the time and you don't think about what you could need in the future. Yeah, it stinks. And so not being able to do pass through of anything with IOMMU is a big bummer. Yeah, I probably overbought so many Intel processors over the years because I'm like, one day I'll do VT-D, and I didn't do VT-D for 10 years, and finally it's just like, okay, I'll do it on servers only. So anyways, I hear you. It's tough, but hopefully you get there. Let me know if you need help then. Our Karslau, I'm going to keep pronouncing it. this way. While we're talking about Raspberry Pis, I have 2 set up with PoE hats and my Unify setup and have them running Pi-hole and Gravity Sync. Hasn't been an issue so far. Nice. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Yeah, Pi-hole is totally super, super duper low resources for sure. I mean, once you get into the, managing stuff in the web, it might be a little bit slower, but you probably won't even notice compared to anything else. But the actual service that it runs, so the backend piece, fantastic, even on Pi Zero. Sir Andrex, I'm curious. What is your main product of the company you work for? I won't get into that. Find me on LinkedIn. Hi. I got to get this one. Any Jima. What type project? A walkie, not talkie. Okay. That's a Walkman then, isn't it? A walkie, not talkie? Phil, oh man, so many names. Phil Bold, UC. Did you ever get a Raspberry Pi on your K3S cluster? Did you ever get that Raspberry? Yeah, absolutely. I talked about it earlier. It's actually right here. Absolutely. Yeah, it's running. So I got the PoE hat on here. So it's PoE powered and it's on. And yes, I have K3S running on it right now and it's running fantastic. Doesn't get too warm. The fan actually kicks on and off and it actually turns off. So I know that it's not getting too hot. And I did a top and looked at some stuff and looked at the thermals. Totally fine. And I've ran a couple of small workloads on it. Totally fine. Now I gotta figure out which ones are the most critical ones so that if something goes down, this can maintain at least, the core services that I run here. And, now I'm starting to realize, I won't go there. I'll talk about it later. I'll save that, dropping the bomb. Anyways, PC Geek, Tweety Bird is yellow. Yeah, I know. I totally know. Yeah. I was just like, how did he come up with that one? It's just so random for my friend. Vino. Hey Tim, I'm running Rancher single node Docker cluster, installed Traffic V1. Can you upgrade to V2? Tough one. Can you? How much pain do you want? No, I'm kidding. No, not really. It's really going to be up to you. And why do I say it's going to be up to you is because, that Helm chart that Rancher uses for the Docker version, so their app store, has, last I checked, only supported V1. So it didn't support V2. And I know that the Helm chart that exists out there, I think has been updated for V2 support. But the one that Rancher points at in their app store, doesn't point to V2 last I checked. And so that's going to be tough. I don't have an answer for you. If you want to do it outside of the Rancher app store, I would just say do it the plain old way you would do like we do in K3S. And so maybe you don't know that way. I've been talking about it a lot in Discord. That way should work for Rancher because it's really just Kubernetes underneath. And so the pure way to do it in Kubernetes is just with Helm. You won't get the UI or any of the fancy stuff, but you will get a working version of Traffic 2. And so if you're interested in doing that, it's all over our Discord because a lot of people are super interested in that. A lot of people are using K3S now along with Rancher, and they want Traffic 2. And so that was a lot of pain for me for about 3 or 4 days, but I got it working, and I kind of have a rough outline of how to do it. So anyways, to be able to upgrade, I'm not sure that there's an easy way to do it. To be able to not do it through the Rancher app store and do it through Helm, there is a relatively easy way, but you have to be comfortable using kube control commands and using a terminal. So, and then I would ask, what do you want out of Traffic 2? Is there something you want out of there other than the version 2 on there? Because at the end of the day, if you end up going to Traffic 2, and you don't take advantage of any of the features, kind of going back to what PC Geek was talking about BIOS updates, you have to ask yourself, what are you going to get in return? And maybe it's just being on the latest version, and that's enough. But I don't have an answer because I don't think they've updated their Rancher app catalog to point at the Helm version of Traffic 2. That's a lot of jumps in between, but that's what I've learned. So anyways, if you want to do it the plain old Helm way with Kubernetes, absolutely. It's easier than you think. Anu Virat, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. And I think there's one more. J.H. Belstern, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. Enigma, Atlantis is laughing at us. Let's see. Ketty, it's me, Christian Josias. Hey, how's it going? Yeah, Ketty Gaming. Yeah, thanks for being here. Yeah, appreciate it. How's it going? Confiotar. Hi, Tim. I think you use mainly containers, but are there any cases you prefer LXC or VM instead? Yeah, great question. Where do I start? I am going to start by putting in another mint and getting a drink because I noticed my throat is getting really dry. So I apologize. Give me like 5 seconds. Okay. So are there times when I prefer LXC or virtual machine? Yeah, there are times. So some of the containers I flip-flopped on over time because I realized that, hey, sometimes doing this in Kubernetes while possible is hard. And then sometimes I've realized that while I was transitioning to a new Kubernetes cluster, that I needed some of my core services in place. And so, what did I learn through that, and where am I at now? Well, I used to have Pi-hole in Kubernetes, and it worked great until it didn't anymore. And when did it not work anymore? No fault of Kubernetes or Pi-hole. It was really that I had to build out my new entire infrastructure. And while I was doing that, building out the new infrastructure, I needed, a core service like DNS to be available during that migration, because I was also switching over to DNS too and not using IP addresses anymore. So, I moved that. I still containerized it, but I moved that to its own virtual machine that then runs Portainer, and Portainer manages a lot of my Docker images. So now I have this, kind of this mixed architecture where I'm still doing containerization. Absolutely. But there are some things that I don't have in Kubernetes that might make their way back when I do another cluster. So I'm redesigning, I guess, my V3. I guess I'm on V2 now. My V3, which is where I'm totally separating my personal workloads, my home workloads versus public workloads. RWI, read, write, Rob, thanks. I think that read, write, execute, Rob, thanks for follow, appreciate it. But so in my V3, I might move some of those things back. But really, my architecture now is I have Kubernetes that run a lot of my workloads. A lot of them are either public or connect to public services or expose public services or do things for me inside of my home that are core, kind of core to some of my public stuff. And then for a lot of other things, like I just mentioned, Pi-hole, I still choose not to run that in a virtual machine. I run it in a Docker container. And the same thing with my Plex right now. I run that in a Docker container. So they're still containerized, but not in Kubernetes. And there are a handful of other things like that too, my databases and stuff like that. I haven't figured out what the best approach is yet to get those into Kubernetes, and if I'm going to keep those in Kubernetes. So they're running in Docker containers, and then I have Portainer managing my Docker container. So I use a lot of containers. But at the end of the day, it's really going to be up to you. What do you feel comfortable managing, and then try to think about, what happens when something like that goes down or isn't available anymore. And so for me, I can't have, I can't have my DNS just suddenly disappearing or appearing on another node because it had to reboot or whatever. All the things that come with Kubernetes, I mean, it's doing its job. It's, restarting nodes or restarting pods if they go down, or spinning them up on other nodes if they go down. So it's just being Kubernetes. But at the same time, I needed some of that stuff while I built my new Kubernetes. So anyways, it's really going to be up to you. I don't use any LXC. Nothing wrong with LXC. I know it comes with Proxmox, but I don't. My containerization platform has been Docker, and it's going to be whatever else in the future. Containerd. It's partially Containerd for some things now. So like on K3s, and so LXC just hasn't fit into my infrastructure yet. I know Proxmox has it because Proxmox has a lot of stuff, but I only use Proxmox for my hypervisor, and so. Yeah, That's not to say I won't use it in the future. I just haven't found a way to apply it yet that fits in, other than just doing it. I haven't found a great way to use it. But yeah, anyways, yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I'm kind of all over the place, and you'll be like this too. And these are decisions you'll have to make, and there'll be times when you want to move or migrate or build something new, and then you'll have some services inside of, you'll kind of have the inception where you're like, well, the thing I need is inside of Kubernetes, but I'm moving Kubernetes or rebuilding Kubernetes, and now you start to realize like, okay, it worked getting it there, but what happens, if I need to do something else? And so, those are things you'll have to figure out. So probably not the greatest answer, but part of the reason why some of my services aren't in Kubernetes anymore, but they will be back when I get my other cluster going, my personal cluster. Jorgensen, hey Tim, are you a React or Vue man? Man, this one comes up a lot, but I like it. I'm going to start learning one at the moment. I'm leaning towards Vue. Hey, that sounds awesome. Let me grab a drink. That sounds awesome. Yeah, React, Vue, Angular, these come up all the time. And really it's going to be, what do you want to learn? And at the same time, what does the ecosystem look like? All three are thriving ecosystems. A lot of, most websites you see on the web right now are built on one of those. And so I don't think you can go wrong. My personal choice is React. One, because, I love it. I'm really passionate about using React. I think it's great. It's evolved nicely over the years. Huge user base. And then also I can do things like React Native. And if you ever need to build a mobile app, React Native is fantastic. And you get to use the same tool set and tool chain and tool belt and tests and write the same code that also works natively on mobile devices. But some people don't want to sign up for that, and that's totally fine. So yeah, alternatives are Vue, are Angular, and they're great. And so I've nothing bad to say about Vue. I've only done a tiny bit. I've done a ton of Angular too. I've just settled on React, and it's an awesome ecosystem that's huge. And so is Vue. You really can't go wrong. And so I would also, if you're leaning towards learning one, and if you're thinking about going into front-end development, I would also look at, what are the companies hiring for right now? What kind of jobs are listed for front-end developers? What skills are they seeking? I know that React is always on the list. So that's something I would do too. And if this is just for learning and exploration, 100%, go for it until it doesn't work anymore, and then try something else. But yeah, it's great question. It comes up a lot. My answer is usually React. It's because what I know, and I don't just try to rest on my laurels. It's because of everything else I said too about mobile, toolchain, JavaScript, and all the other things I get from it too. But yeah, and you probably have that same community with Vue too. Hey, Daniel Harnett, thanks for the follow, appreciate it. And Noah Pies, thanks for the follow, appreciate it, welcome. Hi, Lud, run as administrator. Campbell, housefed, air compressor. I don't know. PC Geek, I have a cordless rigid one that I won from Instagram contest a few years ago. It runs two 18-volt 4A batteries. Also have a Husky 30-gallon upright air compressor, which helps with using air wrench on car tires. Nice. Yeah, it's funny we talk about this air compressor because funny it came up here, and maybe that's why it came up, because it was on my mind. It's because I need to get a nail gun possibly, and I'm like, I don't think this tiny little air compressor is going to do it without like kicking on the compressor every 10 seconds. But anyways, drunk Robbie, you can never overbuy. I know. Just underuse. Hey, yeah, good point. Sigor, you need to release a bloopers reel before you delete any of those. Oh no, you don't want to see them. It's just me just fumbling over words, and it's like it's not fun. And sometimes just trying to find the words to say, I don't know. I don't do well with that stuff. I thought about including some of my mess ups, and I'm just like, oh, these are only funny to me sometimes, and not even funny to me. They're like cringeworthy. But yeah, I appreciate it. Sigor would be a good channel birthday present. Wait. Oh yeah, good point. Let's see. Arthur, yeah, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Good to see you in here, man. AKS is industry standard. Use it all the time. All right, yeah. Coming from the man, Aaron or Arthur. Yes, man. How you doing? All right, yeah, because that's what Azure uses. Maybe I babbled too long about that, but if something, if Microsoft's offering that in their cloud services, yeah, it's gonna be pretty legit. Because you think of all the businesses that run in Azure, all the reasons. PC Geek, if you are new, please say, oh yeah, thank you. I'm like reading off this. Thank you, appreciate it, dude. Mr. Grigson, hey, thanks for the great videos. Thank you. Just finished up configuring my first K3S cluster with Rancher on a Dell Wise 57 terminal. This baby takes 6 watts idle now. I love it. I was just talking about how awesome this Pi was. 4 or 5 watts. That is awesome, man. Awesome. Ilu, 3D printed Pi controlled by Chihuahua treat dispenser with your picture on it, so the mean one starts liking you more. Yeah, I like that idea. I like that. Yeah, he is mean. Ilu knows. I have one that's super nice and one that's just he can turn on a dime with who he likes and doesn't like, and he's a rescue, and he's been through multiple homes, and this will be his last home. We're not giving up on him, but man, he can turn on me real quick. So I like that. I like that with my face on it. I don't know if he would go and attack it or what, but he usually, when he turns, it's usually because he's scared or he just woke up. But yeah, I like it. Crying Dandelion. You should not have read Nick's name. Oh yeah. 6.7 channel K. 6.7K channel points. Hogging until 10K. I need to come up with the 10K reward. The last time you redeemed 10K, it wasn't that great, so I got to come up with a better one. Nick Rose name. All right, Nick Rose. I'll have to look it up. How Weston, do you have recommendations for syncing media images between web servers? Maybe rsync is not the best for such live things. Recommendation for syncing media images files between web servers. I don't know. So so the way that, this one's tough. Because I automatically go to Kubernetes and just mount volume to all of those machines with read access only for all of those, and then suddenly every machine has the same exact volume attached and can read from it. Maybe that's not the greatest design, but that's how I would do it. If I had, I do have a couple web servers here, and I do have, I do. But most of the time I don't. So there's only one thing in my infrastructure where 2 servers or 2 pods or 2 containers, pods really, need to read from the same volume. And that's what I do. I mount the same volume, read access only to all of them. And then one has write because it needs to update the files. And then every server that has that volume attached, just as soon as they get updated, they updated. I know this probably doesn't solve it for you because you're thinking like, okay, these might be cross data center, cross network, cross whatever. And they might not be in Kubernetes, so that might not work for you. Yeah, I don't know if there's a better thing out there than rsync, because anytime I've needed to do it, it's either been an rsync or now it's Kubernetes. And then this is probably not what you want to do, but anytime I need to sync files, I use SyncThing, but that's for personal stuff, so it doesn't even apply here. But yeah, I don't know. That's what I do. If you're in Kubernetes, I would just mount the same volume across all of those web servers, and then you don't even have to worry about syncing. You only have to worry about the one sync job to update the files, and then they all just have it. Ems the bomb. I'm going with that. Oh, wow. iLood, 10.7K after switching the lights. Yeah. Ems the bomb. Currently working on Linux and Python certificate. Nice. I think I'm leaning towards programming, maybe find a Node.js cert. Would those be a good start to get into the industry? Would it help? Yeah, sure. Absolutely it will. I do think though that, a lot of if you're trying to break in the industry, for me, anytime we've tried to hire someone or I've had to interview someone, it's always just been show me, it's always show me. And so a certificate, and not saying they're bad things, but I'll just say, that it's hard to talk a long time about a certificate that you earned. Not that those aren't good things. Those are good things. Those are, just another badge of honor, right? And so, but when I've hired developers before, it's like, show me something you worked on, show me something you've done, walk me through this code, show me an open source project maybe that you contributed to, or show me your private code and walk me through your code and let's talk about it. And so I think having examples like that you can really speak to about not only the code that you wrote, the architecture, why you made those choices, what unit tests you have, what functional or end-to-end tasks you have, like all of those things are more, badges and things that I think people look for when interviewing. Obviously, everyone's interviewing process is different. So I will say, I think that those things that you have will help with the filter, the initial filter. Whoever's looking for a Python developer or looking for a Node.js developer, those things are gonna your resume may bubble up, right? But then at the end of the day, it's if you do get the interview, then it's gonna be let's talk about code and let's walk through this stuff. So yeah, I think they're not bad things, but I would also add to that too that build something, make something public, contribute to something, because I think that's one of the best ways to not only learn, but a good way to showcase what you're about and what you like. Whoa, I cannot read that. I wish that might be Japanese, and if it is, I'm totally failing. But thanks for the follow. That's all I can say. I don't know if did it even show? Oh yeah, it showed up in English. So for me, I see it in different encoding. So that's awesome. 1 second. I think that's what I don't know. Maybe that's not. But hey, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. I'm seeing in my stream elements list. It's really different. So I appreciate it. Thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Currently working on. Okay. You guys are talking about that. Tortilla tade camarones. All right, tortilla. I know the tortilla part. I don't know the tade, but I know camarones. That means shrimp, right? Going with, I'm getting hungry now. Elasticsearch, Logstash, Kibana, please. Elk, yeah. No, I totally agree. Elk stack, yeah, it's there. I know what the elk stack is, so I appreciate you asking for it. And yeah, it's something's coming, and I hate to just be, oh yeah, it's coming. It's always prioritization, like any other thing. I only have so much time in the day, and I do want to make sure that it's right when I do it. Because I could get on and talk about elk and talk about how to log with elk. But I want to make it sure it's right. And I want to make sure I use it in my infrastructure, because that's another thing too. Like everything I talk about, for the most part, I'm still using today in some form or fashion. My whole channel, everything is what I worked on last week or the week before or what I did yesterday, and it's part of the reason why I ask you guys what you guys are working on. And so I want to, most of the things on my channel are personal recommendations. And so I want to make sure that, my logging solution is also a personal recommendation, and what comes along with personal recommendation, actually using the thing and living through it and knowing kind of where the gotchas are. So for sure. Will it be elk? Maybe. Takano, I only switch the lights when I get 11K. Yeah, I'll make that for you only, for sure. Saving up until Techno 10 releases more uses for channel points. Cost won't be an issue for me. Yeah, I should change them at some point. Maybe at some point I'll just change my lights to random. When you spend channel points to change lights, it'll be random, and then I'll have some other ones. I do think that Twitch limits me on how many rewards I can give for channel points. And so maybe the answer is, well, okay, not a reward per color, but a reward for lights and then something else. I want a big LED panel back there. We were talking about earlier in Discord today. I would love my whole entire wall to be an LED panel back there, because that would be awesome. Then we could do some awesome stuff. But yeah, for sure. RGB Viking Helm. Oh yeah, here we go again. RGB Viking Helm. Oh man, I do want to wear a wearable, something that you guys could control at some point. But I want it to be cool, not just single lights. I mean, I would wear a whole entire shirt that had LEDs and have you guys control it if I could figure it out. Enigma, John M in the Discord channel has steps for setting up traffic too. Yeah, stupid easy. Like, yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and if you're in that channel, I just pinned some stuff this morning because it comes up a ton. So it's in there. It's in the containerization channel, pinned to the top. Absolutely, that one got pinned this morning. Hi, bro. My secure gift. How's it going, man? Doritos. Thank you for the follow. Yeah, what's happening, Tim? What's up, Cypher? How's it going? Ron. Ron. How did I get that? Pontal. I've been trying to configure traffic for your video, but I use Google DNS and can't figure out how to configure it. Yeah, a lot of people struggle with this if they have Google devices because of the way I think they do NAT. I don't know. I think it might be NAT, but there's no easy way, I think, because of DNS and how it works with Google devices. And so when I see Google devices, I think like your Wi-Fi devices, I think. I don't know. Let me know, because, if you're talking about just public external Google DNS, whoever owns your root DNS servers, if you update them with a domain you own, that should trickle down everywhere, even Google DNS. So maybe I'm misunderstanding this, if that's the case, that should work. If it's not, and it's something that I've kind of heard, but not fully understood, there are some, I think, issues, and it's not related to traffic or Docker or Rancher or anything like that, Kubernetes. It's related to how Google devices do DNS, but I could be wrong. Chicano, I use LXC for a home assistant like Pi-hole. Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. There are so many use cases for LXC. Absolutely, 100% agree. Less issues compared to running Pi-hole on Rancher. Yeah, probably. Because at that point, it's just a virtual machine, right? Anything LXC is almost like a virtual machine, even though they're called containers, you know? Read Write Rob, native script, any good? I don't know. I haven't done a ton of it. Yeah, good question. I would ask you the same thing. Svelte looks really interesting. Yeah, Svelte does too. I totally agree. I haven't done any native script. I'll be totally honest with you. Haven't had the opportunity to. I should make a project where I can. Same with Svelte, because it comes up a lot. People talk about it. PC Geek, finally got the server booted to do USB so I can update the BIOS. R210.2 uses a weird BIOS. Yeah, awesome, man. Awesome, dude. I'm excited for you. Thank you for the follow. See, I should know this. Hi, call me Aoshi from Japan. Aoshi. Hey, how are you? I thought it was maybe Japanese, and so I was seeing the kanji, like right here. But it says in parens, Aoshi. Aoshi-san. Hey, for you, is it, what time is it there? 14 roughly, so it's 9 in the morning there. So ohayo gozaimasu. Yeah, thank you for being here all the way from Japan. Appreciate it. My secure gift. Hi there, bro. How's it going, man? Great stream. Got to roll. Hey, iLoot, I'll see you later. Yeah, and speaking of, I do have to wrap some stuff up too. Man, this stream went on for, I caught up. I did not plan that. But anytime I see people saying, hey, gotta bail, that reminds me to look at the time. So yeah, I speaking of having to bail, I have to bail too. I didn't realize what time it was because I've just been blabbering so much, but I've been having a ton of fun. So yeah, I thank you. Real quick. Great, Tim, you speak Spanish. No, I don't at all. I took a little bit of Spanish in college. I'm terrible at it. I just know tortilla and I know camarones because they're both food. And I love, Mexican is my favorite cuisine. So anyways, I don't know any Spanish, but Mexican's my favorite cuisine. I love it. I eat it at least twice a week. But anyways, yeah, that was totally a tangent. But anyways, yeah, thank you guys so much for being here today, for chatting it up, for coming to me with your questions, trusting me with my answers. Hopefully you do. Things I say here, you can either take them, give them back, throw them away, whatever you want to do. So I really appreciate it. And I will be back when will I be back? Tuesday, because it's Saturday. I'll be back on Tuesday. I'll be back Tuesday night. I might have something a little bit different again. We'll see. But I'll definitely have something. I'll spill the beans. I'll have something for you tomorrow morning for you on YouTube. So I look for it. But I do appreciate it. Thank you so much there were follows, there were bits, there were subs. I really appreciate it. And most of all, just thanks for hanging out. And Totally. Thanks for chatting. If no one was chatting in here, it'd be the most boring stream ever. So I really appreciate it for helping to make this interactive. So I appreciate it. I will see you guys Tuesday. If you have any additional questions or anything, or just want to talk, yeah, there you go. If you want to just talk tech or have questions, or there's things that I answered wrong, incorrectly, or incomplete, join us on Discord. We have a Discord full of lots of people who are interested in lots of different things and not just tech. Yeah, like some of the things we talked about in the channel today and a lot more. A lot of people, can't make it for whatever reason, but they are really active in Discord too. So I appreciate it if you join. And the link's right there in chat. And if not, it's down below somewhere. Depending on what client you're on, if you just click, there should be about and then a Discord link in there. So I appreciate it. You guys have a great rest of the weekend. If the weather's nice out for you guys, get outside, enjoy it, because we're getting an early taste of spring this weekend. So have a good night. Have a good rest of the day. Have a good evening, good morning, wherever you are. And I will see you guys Tuesday, and be good to each other. Take care.